Okay, it is 6:01. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll welcome board members and our accounting firm and our accountant and our principals and superintendent and then our secretary. And I think we have some guests from Ball State that are joining us online. So welcome. So we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll take a moment of silence for all of those family and friends of APA, former employees, students, board members who have passed. Okay, we'll get started. That's my editorial comment. I count down from 15, and just as a point of reference, you're supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds. That was only 15. So those of you that are cheating the washing of your hands. Okay, so welcome guests. I need a motion to approve the agenda as written and posted.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? We have a motion and a second, all approving with a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. Public comment. The only guests we have are online, so I take it we have no public comment tonight. My only comment would be we moved this meeting to 6 o'clock during the week because we wanted to invite the opportunity for people to come and attend the meeting and make comments and whatever. And essentially over the last 3 to 6 months, we really haven't had anybody here. So, and I don't know if that's COVID related or whatever, but we might want to consider moving it back or whatever the board, whatever you folks think would be best. I know some of us have drives after we leave here, and getting home at 9:30 or 10 at night just makes for a long day. So I'm not asking for a motion or anything, just conversation or thought. Anybody have any conversation or consideration? I know it cuts into some events too at times.
What time was the meeting previously?
4 o'clock. So let's put that on the agenda for next meeting if we can. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. Everybody was delivered the minutes via email. Need a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 11th as written.
There are some comments that I think need to be changed.
Not yet.
I'll go ahead and second that so we can open it up for discussion and questions.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? That's you, Angie.
Okay. There is a couple of places that Elisa's last name is spelled incorrectly.
Well, that's not right.
And I did not do the minutes this time.
In
That's usually when that happens.
number C and number D.
Okay.
It says Foltz instead of Foltz.
Okay.
I noticed those two typos.
Any other conversation?
Yes, under the, it's a CEO report. It says Casaselli requested a 5-year forecast of the salary increases required by the state. I'm a little bit confused by that wording. If I recall correctly, Mike, I think what we were requesting was basically a 5-year APA budget type forecast. So that we could, the question, we'll be talking later in the meeting, of course, about the, let's say, the revamped salary schedule, the official salary schedule, and the compensation increases. What we were wanting to do was a 5-year forecast so that we could test the sustainability of increasing, it's approximately about 616,000 increase from this current year to next year, more or less. And we know that hopefully we won't keep having pandemics and the funding is not going to go on forever. Is that more reflective of what we were trying to convey?
So I think what we did is we asked for a 5-year plan based on what state legislature had established.
Right, even though
Whether
I
or
think
not
you said we didn't, charters were not required.
For the $40,000
Yeah,
starting.
for the 40,000, yeah.
That was not written specifically into the statute to include.
Right.
However,
But we
highly
think it's a
recommended.
good idea from a competitive standpoint.
to be competitive for students, so,
We are working on that.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
that's
we're
still
working- but it's the
forthcoming.
full budget is what we're working on,
Right.
not just the salaries, because Jill had given us some information on salaries that we're putting into that.
Jill, I think, hearkening back to our finance committee meeting we had a week or two ago, you have a 5-year budget as part of our charter renewal, I think.
No.
Or you don't, okay.
No, we did I did the, after the board meeting last time, I went ahead and forecasted the 5 years for current teacher salaries.
Oh, okay.
That does not include, like custodial, all of those things. We just did the ones that would be
Right.
if we did
Okay.
a salary schedule.
I guess we anxiously await that finished product. I don't know that the board's ever seen one of those.
So Dave, are you asking
It's
for
been
a
a while.
change to
Well,
the minutes?
if
Very
you
long
all
time.
think that we need to clarify the wording, I can go either way on it.
What are you asking it to be clarified to?
Something different than what I said, a little shorter, more concise. Sorry, Angie.
That's what I did.
Oh, well, if you
Budget
copied,
versus
okay.
5-year salary.
Did you've got enough to convey what we were trying to,
Well, let's get, so, go ahead.
I think it should say forecast for a 5-year budget versus 5-year salary.
okay, thank you,
That's what I
yes.
would say.
I didn't want to get too picky or anything, but everybody's okay with the wording, it didn't matter to me per se. Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. There's been a recommendation for changes. Do we want to have a motion to accept with the changes?
Put a motion to accept the amendment changes.
Is there a second?
Can I second if I made a recommendation? Okay, I will second that.
Okay. So we have another motion with a second to amend the minutes with the changes or clarifications and corrections. So all four with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. CEO report.
I had two questions. Do we want to make our motions though first? Okay. I will make a motion that we accept the CEO report as submitted to us.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
That would be me, I guess. Jill, I'm curious, you indicated that right now our virtual academy is down to around 82. And of course, that had been as high as 300 during the pandemic.
No, it is, right now, we have 271 kids enrolled in the virtual academy.
Okay.
But we have 82 who are saying they want to return to
Okay,
virtual
okay.
for next year. That's what the 82 is. We are
All right.
anticipating probably about 10 kids per grade level that'll stay in APA online, and the rest will come back to in-person.
Okay.
So is that 82 of the 271?
Yes.
Okay, it's not in addition to the
No.
2.
Okay, starting then with what we're thinking will be around 82 for next year. Viewing the virtual academy, which we just started last year as it's a separate cost center, I was wondering how much roughly does it cost us to operate the academy? And is there a number of students that we need to have enrolled for it to, let's say, not to be a loss leader for us?
I mean, we can take a look at that. No, I don't know.
I was just curious.
We have a lot of people who are currently split funded right now. So we have 1, 2, 3 teachers that are dedicated, well, 2 teachers and an administrator dedicated to the virtual academy. And that's,
So that could be viewed as our, almost like our total cost then.
right. I mean, we have to provide, we have other teachers who teach virtual as part of their in-person class where they're doing a hybrid. So like in geometry, they are doing virtual instruction and in-person instruction at the same time. And then we have some teachers that during the day they're teaching just virtual, and then some, it's kind of scattered. And then we have about 20 people who are doing learning coaching above, working as tutors and those things beyond the school day.
So it's really it's a complex
It's
system.
a very complex thing, but there's no way I can just wing it and say, oh, it's
no,
about
that's
100,000.
Not required to. I just was thinking, I had never really heard the question since it's kind of new for us.
Yeah,
We
really,
will offer that every year regardless of the enrollment though, wouldn't we?
we would like to. It has opened up a lot of opportunities for several of our families. Some of our kids have just flourished and done really well. They've been able to do the co-op class and work to help support their families as well as taking care of their education. And they've excelled. We have, on the other hand, several students that was not a great choice for them, and we're trying to help coach them back to the building where there can be better supports for them. And then we are doing a lot of problem solving. Zach Morrison has been pretty amazing at this and looking at doing kind of a hybrid approach. We're bringing them in to do a little bit of like the STEAM lab and some hands-on activities, get some socialization exercises that will help them be better in the virtual as far as being engaged, but also having some of those same supports they would have if they were here. So there's a lot of schools right now are kind of looking at it, trying to see, what that costs and the ROI and all that stuff is. The legislators are doing a summer study session over the next 2 or 3 summers to see, taking a look at virtual funding, looking at the operations costs and everything, and should they keep it at the 85% or go ahead and put it back to 100.
So that could change next year. If they change it though, it may not.
It'll
help
take
us
2
next year.
years,
It'll be
yeah.
2 years.
It would take 2 years.
We have the 100% one more year?
No,
Just through the end of
Just
this
Through the
year.
end of this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
yeah, which is why you guys did that decrease. Yeah,
Then
and
my-
it should cover it.
That's what.
My second question here, you had an excellent list of things to fix, repairs, capital improvements, et cetera. I was just curious, is all of that or most of that will be funded by one of our COVID relief programs and or other state grant programs like Innovation Grant?
Yes,
There's no significant amount there that we'll be paying for, let's say, out of pocket?
right. Most of that is going, like looking at the window repairs, and additional office space, the modulars, those things, that's all covered with ESSER 2 or ESSER 3. looking at some of the security features, going after the security camera, even though I really don't want to do it again, I'm going after the secure safety grant again, so that'll help with that. And then looking at some of the bathroom remodels and those things, those are things we already had budgeted either for this year that's ending or for the future, the new budget, so.
I did not ask that because I was afraid you were going to pass the hat here at the board meeting.
Oh, I
Cover any of the items.
forgot my hat. I can use a mask.
That's all I, yeah, that's all I have.
So I want to thank Ryan Johnson for doing the virtual streaming of the award ceremonies, and obviously doing the virtual streaming here. And for those of you that are online, we are maskless, only for those who have been approved and had their vaccinations. So, and then to piggyback on your comment, and I asked about the 100% for clarification, because part of the CEO report was when the Finance Committee met here a couple of weeks ago, we knew that there would be a change of the virtual students to 85% funding. So that was about a $200,000 expense or loss in revenue. So we challenged Jill and the accounting folks to find those $200,000, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward. So, any further discussion?
I noticed that the track installation is on here. Did they come back with any other figures on trying to move it or anything like that?
Looking at the cost right now, the quote that we got was to do like the standalone track, I think it was like $738. And that doesn't include putting in stands or fencing or lighting. So they don't do those parts, and they're like, you guys are getting ready to go like way expensive. So, you know, I've talked to Bradford, I've talked to the coaches, and you know, the people that'll be using it, and they would very much just like this one, and
They're excited.
yeah. So,
Pardon the pun, but walk before we run.
yes, excellent. But there will be no walking. Yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to our track teams. They had a pretty amazing season in spite of everything going on, and we actually were able to beat some bigger schools a couple times. Our boys track team, they beat Anderson High School, I think, at least twice this season. So not too bad. So if we get them a track, maybe, you know, put them a little further.
It'll help with injuries.
Yes, quite a bit.
Okay.
While we were mentioning quotes, anything new on our HVAC quotes?
Not yet. Lehman's has been the only one besides Train that has requested to bid, and so we're working with them, coordinating all of the preferred vendors that go within that comprehensive part. Lehman's also, for our electrical, West Electric is generally our preferred vendor because they do so much around here. They know all of our
they're good
little
company.
nuances. And that's one that Lehman's works with regularly, so they're working together on that as well.
You don't think that, I know a lot of that work needs to start right at the end of school. You don't foresee a problem yet in not having the quotes finalized?
I don't, because given the supply chain and the computer chip shortage and all those things, you know, best estimate is by Thanksgiving, the whole thing will be done. It's just gonna be what pieces are available when, and we've done some background with West Electric, we've done some legwork that would not be underneath that comprehensive plan for the indoor air purifiers. The companies that we're working with right now that are bidding, they're looking at larger space solutions and not the classrooms. So we've already done the electrical we need for that and our maker spaces and things like that, because West has had some drop in some of their
That'll give us a head start.
things. So we've gotten a head start,
Yeah, that's good.
and West at least knows, hey, buy up these parts, because they know, you know, they're going to be doing that. They just don't know who they're going to be working with. So,
Any further discussion about the CEO report?
can I add into discussion?
You may.
Fantastic. So the DOE did announce, I mentioned in there that we went after a grant. And this is one that I'm very proud of and very excited for. This grant, the DOE basically gave us about a week to do this grant application. And we were able to work with JobSource, and I was able to write the grant and design the academic program and everything. And it's going to benefit Liberty Christian, as well as Elwood Community Schools and Madison Grant, as well as APA, because you have to partner. And so this is kind of an unprecedented partnership with our community partner leading the way. And it is a $5.3 million grant over a 2-year period. And that is the third highest amount that was granted in the entire state. So I am super pumped, and it gets to be one of my brainchildren projects, and it combines SEL as well as academic recovery and STEAM education and hands-on learning, and goes after at-risk kids and make sure they get fed. We have parent events, and it's a really huge, comprehensive academic solution. So I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further discussion with regard to the CEO report? So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. I need approval with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, budget is approved, or the approval of the CEO report is approved. Boy, that was Freudian, wasn't it? Trying to
Right
approve
ahead.
that budget right, like get out of the chute. Old business, David, April 2021 financial review.
Okay, since it was a holiday weekend, most of you, or many of you, probably did not see the 2 reports that I emailed. You all have unless I missed someone, you all have a hard copy, and you also have that at home. If you saw this, you may not have had a real exciting holiday weekend, is my concern. But actually, we have 2 components of our monthly financial review. We look at, of course, the month of April, comparing actual to budget. And then we also we take the broad overview, we look at our latest projected year-ending results on our cash flow or cash budget statement. This month, actually, you can almost talk about the 2 together because they're very highly correlated. Looking at just the month of April, let me start there. We determined at our last board meeting that our particular school business model tends to have cash losses in the last couple of months and sometimes at the beginning of the year. And our budget for the year was showing 172,000 some loss, cash net income loss for the month of April. However, that loss turned into about a $379,000 loss, and that, we'll go into the whys of that. That also then, in turn, affected our end of the year projections. Last month, we were projecting total cash net income of $375,981, which is a very outstanding figure for us. And because of some of the transactions that occurred during the month of April, and a few more like them we may pick up in May and June, we're now looking at $164,614. Cash net income, as I call it, basically means we're either, after we've paid all of our bills, we're either able to add cash to our ending cash balance, or if we have a deficit, that means that we're having to reduce the cash on hand to cover our operating expenses. So let's go back then to April and focus on what caused the reduction. And I will say $164,614 is still a very good bottom line for APA. The good news is that we believe that almost all, or maybe all of these expenses, which Jill has described for us in her CEO report, are reimbursable. The question is how much of that reimbursement might show up before year end. Probably not a lot, but maybe more, I don't know.
More than expected. Andrea was able, because she's amazing, she was able to request 89,980 already. And then we'll be able to do another request for the 15th of the month. And so we'll be able to get the modular and a couple other things on there as well.
Okay.
So
that's good then. Do you,
fast filer.
I'm just thinking, do you foresee any further reductions in our year-end projected bottom line above what we already have in our cash flow statement? Could be a few more. Do you think
There'll be a
we
few
don't?
more because we've got to do some invoices for the makerspace. So that'll be another one, but then that's another one she can request by the 15th for that too. So
That's good.
there won't be a tremendous, most of the people that I've been working with, I've been able to push back to July 1. Either they can't get a hold of the product anyway, and so they're willing to wait, or just the way some of the things are working right now.
Everybody's in the same boat in terms of getting supplies, so
Yes.
it's
Now,
not just us.
yeah, we do have a good lead on computers, so we'll get that ordered July 2nd and hopefully get those before school gets started. But
Okay.
So having said all of that, if I may, so with the 379 forecast loss, which comes out to an incremental loss of, we had forecast some budget, 206,000. If you're saying 89,000 plus another,
probably another 70,000.
so that takes that $206,000 loss to
Yeah,
40,000 ballpark?
Yeah.
Is that fair? So by year end, right now, we're forecasting, am I jumping too fast through hoops
Like, where are
here?
you going here?
So by year end, does that get us to,
I mean, we're projecting it's gonna be a positive 164.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So
Okay, so that's,
once we get our reimbursements in, we'll probably be like 250.
Yeah, that's the good news for us,
Yeah.
is that we know we'll get the money back. It's just
well, I didn't want everybody to,
maybe on one side, just 30th or
I
the other.
average, we look at the cash flow, I average to see where we are, what we're spending, and we look at that when we're trying to project, especially when we hit the last 6 months, we do that every single month.
well, I didn't want everybody to panic with the $379,000
It's just
loss.
timing, it's really
Right,
what it comes down
right.
to, it's time.
Okay. So net forecast at this point, all things considered without surprises, is we're looking at trending to 164,000 year-end cash flow gain for this year. Is that fair, Dave?
Yes, and then without getting into our next topic, budget, you are forecasting a positive bottom line, I think around 58,000 for next year.
For budget.
So actually, I think our cash position for the end of next year, if we can hold the balanced budget, is going to be very, very strong for us again. So like Mike
just wanna
said,
jump
we
into
don't
the
want to
budget,
get any,
don't
yeah, we don't, I'm just chomping at the bit here. We didn't want anybody, yes, like you said, get unduly alarmed, because that was quite a jump, but temporary. On the reports that I send out, if you want to pursue some of the details, go right ahead, you have that available. Just taking a quick look here at the ESSER programs that are causing that momentary downgrade. Let's see. They would be found under instructional expenses. For example, we had line number 91, instructional professional development, that's the magnified learning and close education. And line 78 under instructional classroom supplies, you have close education. Jill, that raised a question in my mind. I think we know Magnified Learning and Close Education are LLCs or not-for-profits that have been sanctioned by all of the government education agencies to work with us. I was just kind of wondering, what are we paying for like Close Education and 78,000?
For close
Or
education,
no,
yeah.
let's see, 36,000, and Magnify, I think, was about 78,000.
Close is actually 37.9, and what that is our Mind Play software. So it's Orton Gillingham reading intervention software, and what it will do, basically take kiddos or big kids that can't read and get them to fill in the gaps and get them to where they need to be. And so that's a very intensive reading program, and we're already seeing a lot of gains. We actually went ahead and started implementing that in April instead of waiting till August, because we have so many kids that just really need those skills developed now. We can't afford to wait. And so that is actually a Title I expense.
Oh, okay, now that's Close Education.
Yes,
Okay.
for close education, that's gonna be a Title I expense, and it does include a little bit of professional development on that and ongoing
Yeah, about
support.
3,000.
Yeah, and then looking at Magnify Learning, that is a 3-year of doing project-based learning. So they will do training for our staff and then provide ongoing support. True project-based learning is a very extensive process, and it's more than just kind of doing a poster board or something like that. And so this is going to be true hands-on learning. It goes with our charter model, and it'll be over the 3 years. Every other week they will have a check-in to make sure, hey, are you implementing correctly? What challenges did you see? How can we help? How can we adjust this learning for each individual learner? And we will have 40 staff members that are going through this process.
Great, yeah.
And by the time they are finished, that will make APA qualified to become a STEM certified school from the
okay.
Department of Education. So, and you know
Sounds
that
like money well spent, we're reimbursed for it.
yes, and that will obviously, being a STEM certified school and having our maker spaces, will make sure that we're not just getting bells and whistles and doing nothing with them. It'll really kind of change our academic outlook and offerings, as well as be more attractive to potential new students.
You mentioned the reading problem. Was the reading problem that you described, was that as serious as, say, before COVID?
Oh, it's
Or
way
is a
worse.
lot of it is attributable to the COVID?
Yeah, and you know, I've always sang the song about kiddos being behind grade level in reading, because that is a tremendous indicator about college and career success. And if they're not proficient in reading by 3rd grade, they're already on track not to be able to be college and career ready. And so looking at our students, we had, you know, obviously with the pandemic, and we kind of just had to shut down and do what we could, but we didn't have a lot in place for them. There have been gaps. We knew there were going to be gaps. The DOE just looked at our iLearn data, not for APA, but for the state, and said, oh, hey, you guys are right. We wasted 6 weeks of instruction. Yeah, you guys need this time. But they're also seeing it in math. Now, a lot of math problems that we have seen historically are actually reading cognitive processes. And so it's multi-step problems, it's word problems, anything that requires reasoning, or data manipulation, visualization. Those are a lot of the cognitive processes that are impacting math. Now, we are also seeing, which is newer for us, kids that are struggling with number sense and knowing their math facts. So we are bringing in a new program called Reflex and Frax, because fractions is horrible for a lot of people too. And so that's going to do some interventions and give our teachers more tools to be able to customize that to get them up where they need to be. So we're taking everything we possibly can, as well as doing the SEL stuff, but really using our STEM labs or STEAM labs to help bring kids in, get them excited, hide the veggies is how I like to say, and my administrators are probably sick of hearing me say that. but get those reading things taken care of so that our kids can be successful. We are also, as part of our Title I programming for next year, adding elective courses in the middle school. And so with those courses, they're really high interest based, but they'll be math and reading skill driven. So that's where that PBL will come in a lot too.
But hopefully the students will really take advantage, because it sounds like pulling out all the stops to try to help in the math, geometry, you mentioned earlier, that's difficult subjects sometimes, especially those that tend to be more abstract, so.
We're throwing
But
everything we
kids will
got
be
at
kids,
it.
so it's a challenge. Let's see, the only other thing, I think that pretty much explains where we stand. We're in very good shape for this year. I guess to sum it up, the only other question I had on my list here, on line 149, you cited the integrated modular, and I think in my little write-up, I said, I think these are the portable classrooms. Now, Bookkeeping Plus and Beth said, yes, you guessed right on that. It was, let's see, about almost $40,000. Did we decide were we gonna rent those? It sounds like we're gonna purchase them.
We are purchasing. The total price, when everything's said and done, will be about $108,000.
Oh, okay.
It's 107 and change, but we'll be purchasing the 2 classroom building. It's a double wide basically, and it has bathrooms in it. It's brand new, being manufactured for us right now. So
okay.
we were able
Custom
to,
built.
yeah. So Adam did a wonderful job finding this company. I delegated, but you know, we were looking at some used ones, and for about $20,000 more, we could get new ones and have all the safety features and have a nice pitched roof that's not going to be a problem for at least 20 years, so I'm told.
Very good.
And that's with the slab, the 108.
Yep, that's delivery setup, putting up the ADA compliant entrances and all that, and then obviously there will be some expenses on top of that with the electrical work that we've already done for it. We are waiting, tomorrow we get to go to the zoning board just for the official approval. But we've already been doing our legwork here. So I put in to ESSER 2 about $150,000 worth of expenses for it. And I'm sure that we will come under that.
Okay, that's good.
Do you anticipate any pushback from the zoning board?
I don't think so. They've been really, working with us to get us what we need. We've been working with a man named Steve Stivers.
So do they take
Close in
that to
there.
the city council for approval, or is it approved right out of the
It'll be
zoning?
approved tomorrow,
Okay.
if approved. But they've already done, Steve's already done all the elevations and all the groundwork. Previously, Dave, you'll remember this, back in like 2009, maybe 2010, they had talked about renovating 22nd.
I remember, not
Yeah.
09.
Okay, so 2010 then. They talked about renovating 22nd Street, doing some additions and
Yes.
things. And he's who had already done all the site plans for that. So,
With that far back then, yes, I
Yeah.
do remember that.
so he was able to do that for us.
Good work.
Yes,
work.
paid off then.
Mr. Fraley, good work. Jill, good work.
I'm assuming these modules will be much better than those old ones they used 25th Street in 09 and 010.
Yeah, well, these are ours, and they're gonna be APA colors.
Very good. That's great.
Any other discussion?
That's all I have. If anyone has any other questions, though, please jump right in.
I'm gonna jump right in. Okay, I've behaved moderately over the last couple of meetings, so now I'm just gonna jump in. So, I'm looking at line item 74, employee insurance, and I think the answer to this is it's $48,000 actual compared to the budget of 22 ballpark, which it's been running. I'm guessing that that's a
Catch up.
double, it's a catch up for a double bill or something like that, or? What's that?
You paid 2 and 1.
Paid two, that was my sense. So there should be a savings in either in the May, so we'll see that next month possibly. Okay.
It seems like years ago that used to be quite frequent, but I don't know that it kind of surprised me to see that too.
I say Andrea wasn't here, so she's,
So classroom supplies, line 78. Budgeted at 4,000, and we've been running ahead, but what was the 42,000? Is that part of our money that we're spending with the ESSER grant, or?
yeah, that's part of our classroom supplies and ESSER 2.
It was a closed education, it was on
Okay,
summer.
okay.
Well, in that case, in May, you're gonna see some too.
That was 39,000 of it.
Okay, 39 of the 41, okay. And then line 91 came in at 82,000.
That's that Magnify Learning.
That's the, okay.
Yeah, because that was about 77.8. And that 77.8, I went ahead and had them give us the 3-year all in one lump sum,
Okay,
so that we knew we had the money to,
Oh, so that
Do
is
the
a
full-
3-year.
yeah, we don't have to pay that for 3 years.
Okay.
We've already paid in full,
okay.
so
And
spend it while you got it, right?
just as a concern, even though it's higher than what we've been trending, let me get my ruler here, so, line 64 came in at 27,710, which is higher than we've been running for the year, but it's lower than what we had budgeted, so I'm just,
It's 3 payrolls.
is that what it was? 3 payrolls? We had 3 payrolls budgeted, so we didn't spend as much, which is good, but it's probably not good because we had
We,
open positions or,
not really the open positions. This is more along the lines of Title I money that,
Okay.
for the learning coaches and all that stuff. And trust me, I made up for it in May.
so May, I should expect that what we've done well here, I
Yeah,
can ask the question
You can
next
ask the
month.
questions,
Okay.
May.
Well, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and, all right.
Yeah, we had to get the minimum for Title I up, so our spending's got a little.
I noticed what we're talking about, the monthly, it seems like on income, when we have a budget variance each month, often, it's not tremendously large, maybe 50, 60, but it's always Title I. And of course, we have to spend to get the reimbursement.
Yeah.
There's no problems there. We're gonna be closing the year out with pretty much what we expected would come in.
Yeah, we should be fine on that. We are required to spend 85% of our Title I every year. And we anticipated spending most of it this year because of the virtual academy. We didn't know how many extra hours we would need for learning coaches and those different categories. And so, you know, we just didn't know how much it would cost. And looking at next year, looking at the virtual academy supports, depending on how many students we have, we may be able to invest a little more into the people who are doing the extra. I don't know. But Title I, that grant, I want to say should be opening probably, I think, the 15th. And I think I'll have until June 30th to get it figured out. So I'll have a bit more accurate idea of how I'm going to spend that next year.
Oh, food service, projecting about $167,000 profit. That's pretty good.
I don't think so, really.
Yes, am I correct on that?
I don't think we're actually going to have
I don't
profit.
think
Yeah, well, let's see, now, I'm looking at year-end projections. If you take, and we've talked about how this is almost like a separate little cost center, because it plays, it's kind of misleading on your budget variances. If you take the revenues less the expenses, it looked like we had been running around 60,000. But unless I made a clerical error, I'm thinking that
It's
we
probably
are.
timing, I can say that.
Yeah, I think it's the
It's
timing.
timing on when we get the bill.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's
It's not
most,
we're gonna make
that's a
profit.
wash.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's just the timing of the bills, and that's what I calculated out.
Okay.
Yeah, and they gave us.
But it's not going to be a lost leader, which historically it
Well,
seems to have been
could
for
in the
us.
long run, but the problem is it's just when the bills fall or when we get the income in.
Okay,
I think it's mostly a wash.
Yeah, it really is for the
really?
most part.
Okay.
It's just, again, it's 3 pay periods versus 2 and things like that,
Okay.
the way that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then really, in the future, we need to pretty much just ignore the food service part of it.
Yeah, because they get behind. I don't know.
Right, so it appears like they may be having a strong year-end profit, but maybe if you take like 2 or 3 years and look at it simultaneously, it may be, at least we're breaking even with things. Okay,
And our food, revenue and expenses have been so much higher this past year because of the service.
yeah,
we're
we're
able
feeding
to serve
many more
more
people,
than
yeah.
this.
And that's on a monthly basis, that's what's thrown our
And that's what
budget,
causes the-
actual versus budget out of whack too.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
that's why we
It's a
started
larger
trying
number.
to pull that out and look at it as a separate entity, so, okay, well, that's helpful to know.
Any other discussion about the April financial review? Need a motion?
I motion to approve the financial review.
Second?
We got a motion to approve the financial review and a second. All 4 with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now we can move into the final draft of our budget for next year, draft number 3. We did have a finance committee meeting with our accounting folks and Jill. And just a couple of high points. We'll let you folks we want to hit the high points of what we discussed in that meeting. And
Yep, we took the student count just to be conservative, we had it at 800, and we moved it down to 775 just to be safe. So we had some cushion, which, like I mentioned, that took everything, down. We then adjusted based off of that, which also decreased our innovation grant because that's all relative to what your student count is. So that took that down, about 25,000 as well. We then adjusted the Ball State fees because that again is relative to that, and then we did a few salary changes, and the biggest adjustment for that was the building improvement. We had honestly some extra cushion in there, and we just tightened that up a little bit. But there was definitely room for, for that, so, and that's all reimbursable, so we will obviously not spend more than what we have, and there's still plenty, I can say there's still plenty of room in there for, all the improvements that Jill was talking about wanting to do. And then we, did an increase in the hardware, for a one-time purchase, but that was offset by the improvement that we're gonna be receiving for E-rate. So that pretty much balanced itself out. But those were the adjustments that we made that were from last time. And with all that being said, we're still showing that we'll be in a positive budget of about 51,000, which is, it's just a cushion. I mean, obviously your goal is break even with a little bit of cushion, and that's what we have.
We mentioned sustainability earlier. It is true that if we can hold every year to a balanced budget and we get our reimbursements coming in, we should be able to maintain for 2, 3, 4 years perhaps a very high level of cash on hand.
Yeah, and I really think the bottom line is, I think you should obviously strive for that every year, and then obviously, we're fortunate this year with the ESSER to be able to do some of the improvements, like with HVAC and things like that, where those are obviously huge hits, and then it's saving us from the school having to finance, which I think is a huge plus. And maybe to get some of that debt paid off over the next several years, so that we will have that availability if we do need to have something large that we have to finance. So I think it really puts the school in a good financial position for down the road. And then like you mentioned, we're working on the 5-year projection so that we can see sustainability with everything else.
so the ESSER grants right now are like $2.5 million for next year, almost 2.6
Yeah.
for next year. do we know what the trend line is for those dollars each of the next few years, or is that too difficult to try and forecast?
Well, let me pull up my spreadsheet, because I've been trying to do this, because really our entire allocation is gonna be about $3.8 million.
Over the next 2 years?
And we have, on ESSER 3, we have an extra year to spend it. So basically, what I did with the grant, I took ESSER 3, ESSER 2 will essentially be spent this year and this budget that's in front of you. And then ESSER 3 will kick in a little bit for this year and then move forward. So looking at some of the expenses, looking at 2022, 2023, there will probably be another $320,000 that year that will be spent from ESSER 3. And then looking at 23, 24, that'll go down to, well, actually I went back up, sorry, to 340,000. So for the next 2 years, there will be, $600,000 to $700,000 from just that. Now, some of the money that we have put in with the ESSER 2, or ESSER 3, sorry. I really wish they would have named them all three separate things. So looking at ESSER 3, some of that I'm anticipating us spending this year probably won't actually happen until 22, 23. So there will probably be, I guess, carryover to move over.
So how do, salaries and wages are obviously going to be up over what they've been for the last couple of years. Can you give us a quick 2 cents worth what it's gonna be up according to this budget compared to what it was this year?
Off the top of my head, I think it's $1 million.
That we're forecasting year over year.
Let's see, on my one report, I think what I did, I took the projected year-end total compensation, that's salary, payroll taxes, and all benefits for every employee category, including our coaches, because you have FICA and 403B, so you have to throw that in. And then I compared it with our budget in those same categories. I came up with a little over about $616,000. So that would be your total cost. And I guess and then I think I forgot to mention, I think the second report that I gave everybody was just some statistical breakdowns on that 616. So I don't want to get into that, but if you're interested.
I'll be honest, I've been so dark with budgets these last couple of
Oh,
days.
yeah.
I think I want to go through stuff, so
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
totally right, so I apologize on that.
I think he's pretty close on it, and then looking at, some of those positions are going to be, they're temporary positions that are funded by ESSER. There's about $135,000 worth for each of the next 3 years that's funded by ESSER.
So that leaves us $500,000 difference then
Yeah.
going. So, and that funding supposedly is gonna come from the state legislature because they've forced us into accepting these compensations. But they haven't approved that yet. They've only approved that through,
They have
2
approved that
years?
funding for 2 years, so 20,
right,
21, 22, 22, 23.
okay. So, God willing, so I'm just raising
Right.
that point right now. We're good for 2 years going forward. That third year, if the state legislature decides to back off of that, they've saddled us with some pretty healthy compensation increases that could put us at a crossroads. Now, Lori and I will be gone.
Oh, no. I thought Lori said she wanted your job.
She's taking my job
Yes.
next week.
Chairman for life.
So I'm raising that point now while we're talking about these significant increases as we look at this next budget. so that the conversation will be on record that we really need to pay close attention to those dollars going forward. We're good for 2 years, but that third year is what?
Well, and actually thinking about, sorry,
That's all right.
it'd be about 400,000 because we also have built-in stipends for PD and both ongoing PD for the ESSER grant for the project-based learning and stuff. So
it's 400.
It's 400.
It's only 400,000.
it's totally fine. I got it, guys. It's fine.
And I go back to a few years ago when we had to beg, borrow, and plead for $200,000 to get a loan to fix the roof here. So it just, you have to put things in perspective. Thankfully, we're in a good position, but any other discussion about the budget?
One question I had, I applaud Jill, you've done an excellent job here on our brand-new second official salary schedule, something that we really needed. That old one was sorely lacking. That applies, and I think, yeah, you gave all of us a copy, I think, at the last board meeting. That applies only to certified teachers, okay? That doesn't apply to like administrators, or like IT people. Or let me rephrase it. If you go down, and that's where that handout has some of those little details that some people may have questions about or interest in. If for accounting purposes, we either have 100, meaning certified, or 200, meaning not. Let's say you've got IT people or administrators or somebody that used to be a teacher, and they're now under the 200 heading. None of that applies to them anymore? Okay. That was my understanding of it.
Yeah, we do not currently have anything in place for administrators as far as, a salary schedule. We've never had one.
Or anybody like an AE teacher, anybody non-certified.
Any of the non-certified, and for administrators, most of us are considered certified staff. And I was looking through some of your stuff. Some of our teachers or positions have been recoded this budget, so that's why there's some changes between being in the teacher category, because some people have been left over, and we've kind of cleaned that up. At least tried. I'm sure I'll find a few more.
You've done well.
So,
Yeah, I think the way that you handled and structured it looked very well thought through, very consistent, and again, was something sorely needed from a competitive standpoint to retain good teachers, especially down at the lower end. And also, we're, I think, neglecting some of our teachers at the top end have been with us a while.
Yeah, and actually,
Or had a hired like a PhD.
you've taken it from 9 years with an increased level to 18, which is, that's the direction we're going. I know we haven't been around for 18 years, but someday we will be.
yeah,
And then you've added the PhD component to that, so we can remain more competitive.
I've actually built it up for 21 years. We just won't be able to implement those 21-year salaries for 2 years. And then we'll be able to get people up a little bit higher. So,
Any other discussion about the budget? Any high points from you folks? I know you're doing lots of budgets, but any high points of our budget that you want to share with us? High points, low points?
it's over and we don't have to change it.
Yeah, no, I feel like we've gone through it really well. The biggest thing, like I said, is just keeping the cash flow up so that we have room and we have emergencies in case we need to build a fund, which I think that's the most important thing. And I think, the school, I think that has done very good as far as being fiscally responsible and making sure we can maintain that cash.
And being a little more conservative with our biggest concern was we've been budgeting at 750 students for a number of years. Even though we're at 810 this year, that was the original budget out of phase number 2. We took that down to 775 to be a little bit more conservative So that, with the hopes that we stay at 810, that would be a nice number, but at least.
Or 9-10 be even better. Oh, is they're all good students?
Remember, the track's not in yet, we're still
Yeah,
walking.
that's right. Yeah, wait for the track.
So again, those are a couple of the things that were high points. The other thing that, without getting too nitpicky, is once we do get the new equipment in here for airflow and circulation and wiring and whatever, there could be some efficiencies in electricity savings and gas savings and
We'll lose a lot
things
of our
like that.
fans.
But right now, we haven't built any of that into anything going forward. So there are some opportunities for some savings.
Finally, my point that you to the lights, I mean, that obviously, that's
Yeah.
what's safe right there, and that's a good example of saving some funds from
Yep.
there.
Yep. Any other questions? I'm going to call for the vote. All for approving the draft number 3, final approval of our budget for the 2021-2022 year with a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Budget is approved. Congratulations, all that were involved and all the hard work that went into it, and thank you so much. Okay. New business. Captain Fraley. APA elementary presentation, end of year?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. As always, I know that CJ and I both appreciate being able to speak with you different times throughout the year, just to give you a little perspective and keep you up to date on what's going on in each of our entities, so always appreciate this time. I believe that a lot of information that I will be kind of discussing tonight, probably you're aware of, or may have even been discussed this evening with some of the questions surrounding the budget. All right, so first of all, the partnership that we developed this school year between Ball State and us has been something that's brand new as far as student teachers go. I know that there were student teachers here in this building, but then in the elementary as well. We did have 5 student teachers this year, and we actually ended up hiring one of those student teachers. Next school year, we also have 5 slated to be with us again, so we feel like that's a really good partnership, and look forward to continue growing that, because that's something that we've wanted to be part of for a while, and actually COVID kind of helped open that door for us when some other schools weren't willing to take student teachers in. We were, and so I definitely think that will be positive for us in the future. As far as staff appreciation, CJ and I both did appreciation for our staffs in March and then in May, right before spring break, and then in May, I think that first week is when usually we have staff appreciation. And I think that went well. We tried to really amp it up this year, thanks to Commandant, allocating money some different ways, and then also some fundraising benefits of fundraising has allowed us to do a little bit more for the staff, have food trucks come in. I know CJ, I'm not trying to talk for CJ, but I know CJ did have some massage therapists came in. I know a lot of staff enjoyed that. So just across the board, trying to demonstrate in different ways that we do appreciate our staff. And so I do think we did a pretty good job with that this year. At the elementary, we do something the last 30 days of school called the ABC Countdown. It's just a fun little activity where the cadets have opportunities to engage in different activities related to the letter of the day. For example, W was for water, and like a lot of kids had balloon fights and did some things like that. So that was had some dress down days, some things like that. So trying to start to bring back some normalcy a little bit as we think about hopefully having a lot more normalcy next school year. We did get to do field day this year. We were a little sad because field day usually involves a lot of partnerships with families, guardians coming in to volunteer to help set up things. So it was a little bit different, but Corey Scott and actually Tiffany did a really good job of helping organize this. And to be honest, it was probably organized, because we had to organize it in a different way, it probably actually reduced the amount of stress that the adults typically have during field day. So I feel like that went fairly well. We do feel like we're doing well with retaining staff members at the elementary. At this moment, I do not have anybody who is leaving, who has told me that they're leaving. That goes for support staff and teaching staff as well. We are having one teacher move into the interventionist position that was created, and then because of reallocation of some of the 5th grade staff, we were able to hire another in-person teacher. So we hired 2 in-person teachers right now. One of those is a student teacher, so we're excited to have her. Her name's April King. And then as far as enrollment goes, the last day of school, I believe, and Jill could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we had 201 enrolled in person at the elementary, or K through 4, and then 67 of those were virtual. As far as discipline goes, just looking through those numbers there, I think the important thing to hit on there would be since 2018 we have had 0 expulsions, and then office referrals refers to both out-of-school suspension and in-school suspensions. So you can see that each year we're decreasing the number of those out-of-school and in-school suspensions. Now I do have to give some of that to, obviously we did have a few weeks of being virtual and some things like that. So I do realize that kind of skews that data and makes it look maybe a little bit better than what it actually is. But in general, feeling good about the decline of out of school and in school, and that's attributed to our proactive behavior or proactive strategies that we're using with discipline, so that we're getting to the situation, helping the cadet before it gets to the point where it turns into a major discipline situation. So feeling good about that. As far as this summer is concerned, we are offering different opportunities for staff to participate in professional development, and most of those, and actually almost all of them beyond when we come back to school, are voluntary. And we're excited that, again, because of some of the extra funding that we've been able to get, that we will be able to attach a little bit of money with those opportunities, kind of to incentivize people to be able to maybe, or be willing to give up some of their time during the summer. So, for example, we'll have some training on EL, on SEL, on some instructional strategies with reading and math, some intervention pieces. Summer school, and then Kickstart, Cassie Cunningham, I know that she's heading those up, and CJ's helping with that as well. So I don't have a whole lot to say about that beyond summer school. Our kids at the elementary who were quite a bit behind as far as grade levels go, or GLE concerned, they are going to be able to have some time to make up some of that learning loss. And then the Kickstart program, I know that's more of a STEM type push with some projects and some fun activities. And I do think there's been quite a bit of interest in that so far. Campus updates and projects, I know you're aware of all these, so I don't need to go through all this list. I do want to say though that it does feel nice to know that there are lots of items being worked on at the elementary that I know Jill has wanted to help do for years, and seeing those things start to come to fruition has been really impactful for morale. And then also moving forward, the additional things, super excited about the modular, excited about some of the flooring projects, and just in general sprucing up our campuses. Very excited about that. One of the things that as far as the updates, drop off in the morning, and especially with having 5th grade in there, I'm trying to make that a little safer. You know, some of you who might have seen how that process works. It's kind of dangerous because the sidewalk does not raise above, so it's the same, height as the road. So just trying to figure out how to make that a little more safer. So I appreciate Jill's efforts on that. And then as far as some curriculum and academic information, just to give to you, and I'm not going to go through all these pieces that are listed here because I know that you can look at them yourself, and I know that Jill, you all talked about some of these this evening. But I do want to tell you the rationale, the reason behind some of these changes and these initiatives. Obviously, as we have continued to develop and then reflect through our school improvement plans, through the Ball State Charter, going through the charter process, have realized that we need to fix some of our pieces in our rotational model and get that piece aligned into the piece that it truly needs to be and it was designed to be when the charter was written. So for example, we know that we need to have a common way of doing our reading instruction. That's something that we've just kind of relied on teachers, assuming that teachers can access the information and then understand it and apply it to their instruction, and figuring out now that there's not always a common language on how teachers are approaching these strategies. So realigning that, having some common instructional strategies. Math fluency, we know that's something that we have to hit big time. Subtraction, addition, multiplication, I mean, across the board, trying to find new engaging ways to get students to memorize those facts that in the old day we just did, and trying to encourage that to happen now. Writing and grammar, that is something too that we know that we have not had a real common alignment. So using the Shirley method, we're excited about that because that will provide, especially for our brand new teachers, almost a dictated approach to teaching those pieces of writing and grammar, so that'll be helpful, again, to those teachers that don't have some of that long-term experience. And then the huge piece that Jill talked about, the project-based learning piece, that is a huge piece that coincides exactly with the STEAM piece, the Makerspace Lab. Super excited about that. As a former teacher here myself, I can tell you that I did not do the project-based learning piece correctly at all. At all. Sitting through one little training or informational session that we had back in April, the realization was, oh, I thought I had some idea of what I was doing, but I truly didn't. So I know that training will be super impactful and important. And then obviously these initiatives, having Jill's support with that academic lead from her previous position, taking the lead on the organization of our academic teams. Basically, she's been meeting with the academic teams to figure out how we can get some of these realignment pieces in place, and then communicating that with the other administrators like the principals. But obviously, using lead teachers will be important as far as helping model and using our academic deans, as well as the additional PD, and then the accountability through classroom observations, expected meetings among grade levels, etc. And then finally, the school culture piece and the fundraising piece. If you look at that, just wanted to let you know that we are returning to normal as far as our uniform expectations, going back to that red polo, the navy bottoms, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders being in a black belt. So going back to who we are as far as the identity of the uniform is. So just wanted to let you know that. And then a piece I forgot to mention here was the community service piece. I know that's a huge piece of the identity of who we are, and realize that piece has been missing quite a bit during this COVID, so getting back into that. Also working on tardiness and absenteeism. I felt like we had a pretty good handle on what we were going to do, and then COVID hit. We've had to forgive everything. We had a plan with increased parent-guardian involvement, working toward turning the school into a support system for families through Parent University. That was something that we had initiated before COVID had begun, and then we have not been able to do those things for a while. Allowing our parents eventually to get back into our classrooms, get back into eating lunch with their kids, that would be something that we know that we would like to work toward. And then the community partnership as well. I will say that CJ and Jill have done a really good job of this. CJ's super good at the community partnership piece. Job Source, I know with Jill, and I've been working with them. That's been super great and impactful for our families. And then the Children's Bureau has been very helpful to us recently as well. And then we have Jenny Pruitt, who's our EL director, and Brooke Carroll, who is a Dean of Academic or Dean of Discipline at the elementary. They've been attending their bi-weekly or monthly meetings and getting some information that hopefully we'll be able to use to get to our families as well. And then fundraising, we're trying to use the leader in me philosophy as far as some of these fundraising initiatives, meaning empowering our own staff and giving opportunities to them. So for example, Lacey Hoseman, who's our art teacher, she also sells Scentsy on the side. So we partnered with her. It's a win-win situation. She helps organize and do all of the legwork on the fundraiser, and then we get to keep a percentage of the fundraiser, and helps her business at the same time. Or not really helps her business, but gets her points to take trips or do things like that. Walkathon, that was something that we did to help, I believe it was the Animal Protection League, or no, the Anderson Christian Center. And that was Mary Ellen Woodson who organized that. We would like to continue that and to grow that program. That was brand new this year. We used Jackson Park, and that ended up being a pretty big, exciting new thing. We do try to keep a bookstore open for kids to purchase APA-related items, pencils, pens. To be honest, trinkets and crap that people don't really want, and or that we wouldn't buy, but kids definitely, they don't spend much money, or it doesn't cost much to make, or doesn't cost them much to purchase, and that's been kind of a nice fundraiser for us. Dapper Cat Cafe, who's here in the community, they have helped us with a couple events. They came out on Field Day. They also helped during Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. So just continuing that collaboration, that piece, trying to just let people know that we're here to support the community and other businesses as much as we can. And then Courtney Carmichael is one of our 3rd grade teachers. She is looking towards starting her own baking type of business. I know she's going to be at the
Farmers market.
Thank you. At the farmers market selling her items. So she and I have talked about trying to figure out if we could start a little something where it's a win-win for her as well. I know Jill already talked about this. The online APA online for K through 5 next year is looking like it's going to be about 10 at the most students per grade level. This year it's been about 15 or so on an average per grade level. So I know that there'll be a need for that, but that need obviously won't look the same as it did this year. So I know that was a very quick rundown, but also kind of long at the same time. So let me know if you have any questions, but if not, I appreciate your time this evening.
Congratulations to you and your team on a great year under extenuating circumstances, and another successful one under the belt. Any comments or questions of Captain Fraley?
Well, let's see, I'm thinking, but moving the 5th graders back to 22nd Street, that should make your life a little easier.
Yes. Yeah.
But is that true? I don't know.
No, I think it'll make it a lot easier because it'll actually hopefully help CJ a little. He had to take a lot of that load with the 5th and 6th grade when we just found it wasn't, traveling back and forth wasn't working the way that we were hoping it would. And so, but definitely but I was still doing the teacher evaluations and check-ins and doing those things. So yes, definitely having them back
both of
in the elementary will help tremendously, and we're excited to have them. Well, like on Friday, I was thinking, ooh, we're gonna have all these 4th graders again who are in trouble today. But that's okay, it's gonna be good. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to publicly say you are amazing. The last 3 years at the elementary has been transformational, as you can see with their discipline data. I would argue, yes, this year's down a little bit, but them being on virtual and coming back makes them do even more intense behaviors or surprise behaviors. So you and your leadership model, you've done amazing. So trying not to completely embarrass you, but also give you props.
I appreciate it. Thank you a lot.
Good job. Okay, we're going to talk about the pre-academy and academy end-of-year presentation. CJ, Director Miller. I was going to call you Dr. Miller.
No, please, Dr.
That was a
Miller.
little Freudian.
So I'm not going to be as formal as that here. I don't have the handouts tonight. So just want to talk a little bit about some of the celebrations that we had. So last Thursday, we had the opportunity to have our Academy Awards program, and we kind of went over some of the highlights during that time where we tried to use the month of May as a celebration of who we are here at APA. So we had some highlights. Some of those things that we were talking about. Mr. Torgerson was our first APA recipient of the Max B Award for enriching education here in Madison County. So we were really excited about that. With the number of great staff members that we've had come through here, Mr. Torgerson winning that award was really something for us to celebrate. We were also able, thanks to some of our community partners, we gave our students the opportunity to vote. We took some recommendations and nominations for our Teacher of the Year, and we had 2 Teacher of the Year nominees that were awarded at Awards Day for the Academy. That was Mr. Stoudemire, and for the pre-academy, that was Mr. Dean. So through our community partnerships, we were able to provide them a couple nights stay down at the West Baden Resort. So we are really excited about that. So we're able to provide them that, plus a couple gift cards from the community partners. So try to make that a very prestigious thing, and moving forward with that, that's a program that we envision keeping and moving forward. Another celebration piece was that even in a COVID year, our senior class this year, they were able to earn right around $198,000 in scholarships were awarded last Thursday. So we were really excited about that. The biggest being a 4-year paid tuition to Anderson University. So we had a young lady, Myra Cruz Pena, that won that award. So we are really excited for her getting that covered. So just really excited. As we finish our audit, I know that Adam was talking about community service being a really big foundational piece for us here at APA. But since the 1st of February, we had over 2,000 community service hours that are completed by our academy students. Majority of those were completed in one day. We did have our community day of service, where we were able to impact, each student was able to impact for about 7.5 hours that day, different programs within our community. So we had our GROTC program that made their way over to Second Harvest Food Bank over in Muncie, another small group that made their way to Newcastle for a food tailgate, plus some of the community partners we had here with New Purpose and the Parks Department, etc. So really excited about that. Also, the month of May, we had 7 of our staff complete a restorative justice training program. That training program lasted for 5 months, and that was with the Peace Learning Center. Peace Learning Center is a program that was started, it's over off the Eagle Creek Reservoir in one of the old Eli Lilly vacation homes. It is a very neat program, but it is all about social justice programs. They were the ones that came in last year and trained our entire staff K through 12 on the implicit bias training, and they have continued to be a partner of ours as we move forward. So as we move forward with that program, obviously we have focused on the staff training component of that. We will be looking to move into a student mentorship program type training that they have as well. So that is something that we would look to implement for our 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, and that would be a continuous training program to try and identify and have peer supports within the program. So one of those things about building advocates and leaders in our program. The other item, as far as the celebration, we did have 2 of our freshman students that were able to participate in this year's All-State Jazz Band. So we were really excited about that. Julia Tyler and Elijah Diltz, they were able to go down and participate for 3 days in Indianapolis, got to perform at the Palladium there in Carmel. So really excited about what Mr. Draymond is doing with our program. Looking at some of our community partners and some of the programs that we have operating, just want to make sure everybody is aware of what we have going on this summer. First, we did get confirmation from JobSource, so working with Brianna Price. JobSource has been amazing for us this year in regards to technology, providing enrichment opportunities for our families. JobSource had provided, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were right at 102, 103 families with internet service.
It's been 127 students. Okay. So some of those are multi-student families, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, so we received confirmation that they're going to continue to pay for that internet service through at least December, with the idea that that will continue through June of 2022. So that is an exciting program. I don't think we take for granted at times what we are able to access by having internet within our homes, and bringing that tool to our families has really been a powerful thing. So we are really excited for that to continue. The Minority Health Coalition. So the Minority Health Coalition, we had been meeting with them about the last 6 weeks. And one of the things that we are doing with the Minority Health Coalition is they were seeking out a partner where they have received a $125,000 grant that is to support the community health. Part of that community health is education. And whenever we talk about education, we're not just talking about education about healthcare and education about self-care. We are actually talking about financial literacy. We are talking about literacy in general. So what we have going and what we have beginning this summer, we are looking at starting this week of June 14th. There's going to be a leadership academy that is going to be funded by the Minority Health Coalition, where we have members of our community that are going to come in and they're going to teach from the business perspective, they're going to teach from the social service perspective, and we are looking at families that are currently have students in the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So we are looking at them really focusing hard on those 7th and 8th grade students as they move forward to show an importance of education. Obviously, the Minority Health Coalition, they are really focusing hard on the 46016 area code. So that is really going to be the focus of who we are trying to pull. We have 10 families that have been contacted about that. We have another 5 families that are in waiting, that are on the waiting list, that if they back out. So this initial program, we are looking at that being a 15-day program. So 3 full weeks of that program, 4 to 5 hours a day. Out of those, you will see us transporting the kids. So whenever we talk about the $125,000, we are waiting on that MOU to come over, but there is a match in kind that we would be providing, and that is space, transportation, etc., that we would provide to transport our students. This is a program that we are running at APA to community events. So going out to Mounts Park, going bowling, kayaking, etc. So we do have some fun events planned with that. So really, really excited about that. One of the things that we are also excited about is we are continuing to track our growth. Much like Adam, I don't have my discipline numbers in front of you, but I can tell you this year that we had 0 expulsions. And for us being a building that is 5 through 12, specifically 9 through 12, whenever you see the 0 expulsions, we are excited about that. Because our kids, once they reach that 7th, 8th grade age, they have access to things that most of us adults do not know how to access. And the fact is that our students do a great job of keeping those items out. And we have a great group of kids here. We have a great group of kids here that self-monitor, self-police, and we make sure that if it's needed, we will either coach them in or coach them out. So we are at the point where we provided them the services that they need. But another part of the data that we are missing, and we have ourselves signed up for, and that is the Indiana Youth Health Survey. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of that, but that is a free survey provided by the Indiana Department of Health. We will be participating in that, and that is in January. The window opens in January and February of 2022. And what the Indiana Youth Health Survey does is it does track and monitor those risk behaviors that we need to be aware of. It is all anonymous, but it is specific to our students. And what we find is that students are honest to a fault at times, but it will allow us to put in the type of programs that we need to address community health. So that is kind of a long way of saying that our partnership with the Minority Health Coalition is going to be fairly substantial. So looking at that, we also have developed a relationship with a program called The Village. It is called the Village Mentoring Program, and that is ran through LRI, which is a program set up by Lewis Jackson. So we are one of 2 schools that Lewis is accepting families from. It is us in Highland. Again, another program that is taking at-risk families and at-risk youth and beginning to provide them family services, life coaching services, etc. The exciting thing about the growth of his program, that program started in February of 2020, things that these families will receive. So they will receive free counseling services through the Bowen Center, and that is a holistic approach with the entire family. So we can take the at-risk male youth and send to the program. He will get the one-on-one services through Lewis and the Village program, which is there's a graduation service and all these things. And so they kind of take care of that at-risk youth. It's a very much a one-on-one type of big brothers approach. Then the Bowen Center is going to provide the family supports. All that's free of charge. The other thing that is exciting is what we have found is with our at-risk youth is having access to leisure activities. The YMCA is offering here in Anderson, will be providing those families free memberships as well. So starting in August, the village will take on 20 new families, and they operate from August through December, and that they bring in the next 20 in January. So we will be able to impact 20 families here, and then Highland will have access to 20 as well. So we do have a list right now of about 35 families that are wanting to participate. What we were trying to get creative with, so obviously a program like that is what you find is that participation in the program is not fully taken advantage of if there's not a financial investment taken by the family. So there is a slight cost to that. And what we are looking to establish, that cost for the 4-month program is $450. So what we are looking at is trying to find a way to subsidize that with scholarships, community partnerships, where we are looking at reimbursing about $350 of that cost for the family. So we're trying to find avenues to do that. Some of the other items that you've probably seen on our Facebook page, if you get on there, has been STEMnasium. STEMnasium is a STEAM program that has been operating here in our pre-academy and in our small gym. That is a Saturday weekend-based program. Again, a free program that was set up to address at-risk adolescents here in Madison County. What you are seeing is 75% of those participants are APA students, and it is hands-on activities that is being done by electrical and mechanical engineers. They're coming in and teaching the class. They are putting together drones, they're putting together robots. It is a very, very neat program, and we are servicing about 25 kids through that program. So it's really, really excited with that. Other community program, just the last community program I wanted to mention is Intersect. So our programming with Intersect is continuing, and they are continuing to invest in our building and our programming. So we do have 5 teachers that will be participating in a 3-day intensive training with our SEL program. So we are continuing to build that program up with Intersect support. So very excited about that. Just looking at a few things moving forward. As I said, really excited about some of the things we have planned out for next year. CAP, GROTC collaboration, I'm sure you want an update on that. That has had some rough waters, but everything has started to smooth. We have had some clarification on some expectations, so really looking forward to how that program moves forward. As far as academic programming, really looking forward to working with Dr. Nolick, Ms. McCullough, Jessica Warnocker, Commandant, as we continue to move forward with those programs. We have an intensive summer put in play, so really looking forward to that. As you make your way around the building, we had the Makerspace Lab started today. They started the painting in there, so we're really looking forward to that. Also, wanted to make one mention about the pre-academy elective program. Have some really creative people in the pre-academy. So we gave our teachers the opportunity to design a curriculum, a 9-week curriculum, so that they could hide, as Jill says, hide the veggies in regards to growing that reading comprehension, math skills, and applied mathematics skills. So our new science teacher, so Erica Whitaker, is sliding over from math this year. She will be teaching 7th and 8th grade science next year. But her rotation class, for instance, is going to be forensics. There's going to be a full forensics unit where they're going to do a lab safety, and then you're going to look at how you work through a crime scene. So we do that with collaboration with Mr. McBee, who maybe is our SRO and has had law enforcement experiences. So we are going to put some applied sciences in that. The other ones that we're really excited about is Mr. Draven, introduction to music. So we have some students that are wanting to join band in 7th or 8th grade without 5th or 6th grade band, have no idea how to read music. So an intro to music is going to be how we read music in the different genres and really time and measure and all those types of things that will take place there. But we will also have an applied part on the second 9 weeks with the acoustic guitar. So we have that program. And then Dr. Strahler took it upon himself to get trained with a electronic, computer-based music making program. I know I'm not doing that justice as far as how I'm saying that, but it is all about the use of STEM and computers and creative, using electronics to make music. So it's a music production class. So we are really excited about some of those offerings. So I have a lot of neat things going on. Food science, applied sciences with Haley Olson. Haley was one of our student teachers that we had the opportunity to hire that joined us from Ball State. So we are really excited about some of these things moving forward. I took a lot of time there. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So the elective classes, is that gonna be like, they'll get that elective instead of like art or band?
Nope.
Or they're adding
addition.
on like a
They're adding it.
period?
Adding it on. So our success period, which was with a block schedule, was like a 90-minute study hall. So we will have a 35-minute intensive, that's where we will implement our mind play or compass or one-on-one instruction, but then that last 50 minutes will be that rotation. So every 9 weeks, so they should have 4 different rotations. So they can do intro to music, they can do the music production, then they can rotate into 2 of the science labs later. So, yep. So they put those selections in the second week of May, is when those selections went out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How many, a year end or like a year average, junior ROTC, how many kids have we got in there now?
All right, so as of right now, we just did a count earlier. So what we have done, we did offer it to incoming 8th graders. So we have been given that opportunity. So as of right now, we have 21 8th graders that are signed up. And then that provided us with another 62, I believe. So we are at 83 total right now signed up for the program. So the numbers.
So it's holding from,
Yes.
I think, what it was
Yes.
in the fall
Yes.
when we heard from
Yep.
Or it's
Correct.
gone back up.
Yep.
It's up, yeah.
Yep. And a lot of that is being done through, after the inspection, we have the push for the CIA trips. So the curriculum and action trips, what you've approved for them to go to Washington, D.C., when they're looking to go back to Grissom again. So we have some really big things that are going on. Once COVID restrictions are lifted, color guard, making their way down to Colts games, those types of things. They had all that in the works, so really getting out into the community and pushing that is going to be big for that program.
So you didn't have a sophomore slump.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right
Yeah,
now.
no. Good job again. Congratulations
Thank
to you and your team, and I'm glad to hear the Minority Health Coalition's coming back to the community because they had been pretty much out of and the partnership is gonna help a lot, so.
Yeah, so Trisina Jones has taken the lead on that and has been wonderful to work with, so.
Can you send me her contact information?
Yeah, will do.
And then I'll just suggest that for the Teacher of the Year program, you may want to get some type of plaque or trophy and put it prominently placed. You know, and if you need some funding for that, let me know.
That's the plan for the first of the year. When we
Okay.
come back, we'll be making that presentation.
Good job. It's nice to hear 198,000 in scholarships. That's an incredible number. And 2,000 service hours, which is a great addition to our community. So good work.
I just want to publicly recognize CJ too, because we kind of sold him on the idea of APA and said, "Hey, this is going to be a challenge, but we got this." And then we threw a pandemic at him 2 years in a row. So, he's navigated it very well. Also dealing with some of our growing pains with our different programming changes, and then the community partners. That has been a huge goal, and the man likes to talk and goes out on the street and is like, "Hey, you, come here, come work with us." And everybody just comes, they flock to him. So it's been great. So.
Well, it's nice to have the two of you partner with Jill, and the work you've done has not gone unrecognized. So thank you on behalf of the board. So, all right, we'll move to the next one. We do have, everybody should have what went from a 13-pager at the beginning of, June?
Yeah, July.
Last year to now 17 pages with different colors.
Different colors.
And a few additions in here with stuff that we've learned. And this is something we do need to approve for the upcoming year. Is this something we need to approve tonight?
We do need to get this approved for the ESSER 3 funding to be able to qualify for it. Once they approve our grant, we have 30 days to get this posted on our website, which this version's not on there, but our previous one is. For the most part with this, I've just tweaked a few things. So initially under substantial spread, we had said that we would be closed because that's what the Madison County Health Department told us when we first developed this. Obviously that has changed significantly throughout the year, what we can do to operate under that. So that's just been changed to basically say that we were gonna coordinate with local and then consider different schedules to accommodate and to do enhanced COVID protocols. Other than that, pretty much everything's the same. I've added updated resources from this health department because they like to change that up every now and then. So, in some of these areas, I've just put a link to go to the current link, and then they can find out what's on there because it's getting a little hard to keep up with the ever-changing guidance.
Amen.
Yeah, right? You live it every day. So looking at this, it's not much different than the 1.5 version that I presented back in November. One thing, we do have to have a statement in there talking about vaccinations, knowing that this is something that will still be under discussion and development for several years. I just put that we will share all the materials that we are given and requested by the state. And then we can assist with helping people get scheduled if they so choose. Right now, nobody has put out there any mandates for immunizations or including that as part of it. I know several students aren't old enough to qualify, and everybody's trying to figure that part out. So I've done what we need to comply with the ESSER and the ARP requirements, and nothing more than that. I would recommend or request that possibly have a board member to help me navigate this kind of for the next 6 weeks as CDC comes out with new guidance. I don't know, looking at the governor, he has extended the mask mandate for schools through June 30th, but the intent is starting July 1, it will be a local school board decision as far as what we follow, what we don't follow, or what different programs are. And so if I could have some people to help me navigate that, that will
I'll be happy to.
Hey, thanks. I kind of figured you would volunteer.
I can, well, it's not my area, that's, anybody can use, but if I can help out.
Okay.
And just so you know, we've begun vaccines at our health center. We're doing the Moderna shots on 1 day a week, and I know in Muncie we're going to start. Well, they've started with the 12 to 18s,
Okay.
and that's at our facility, at our PEDS facility over in Muncie, and people from Madison County can go there, and at some point we'll bring those here, and we're actually looking at opportunities to reach out further, so schools and whatever might be another option down the road, so, just so you know. That was a shameless plug, wasn't it?
Shameless
I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question? I was thinking that I saw something on the news about maybe one of the schools that if you have been vaccinated, or one of the colleges, that if you've been vaccinated and then you're caught in like contact tracing, then you don't have to be quarantined or something?
Yeah.
Is that anything that you looked at, the governor's gonna put into the?
Current guidance that has come from CDC and from the state health department is if you are vaccinated and you are not symptomatic, you do not have to quarantine, even if you are a close contact. So, you know, that will be an interesting challenge.
And without symptoms. And without symptoms.
Right, without symptoms. But that will be interesting because, you know, requiring proof of immunizations and all those things. I will say that the state legislators did pass that law to not be able to require vaccination passports. However, that actually doesn't apply to K-12 schools. They didn't include us in the listing. Usually, for the most part, that seems to be governmental agencies. And there seems to be significant discussion right now if that was intended to include public universities or not. So that's kind of a hotbed that I'm just going to sit back and, navigate what I need to do. We're teeny tiny, and we'll do what we need to do for our families. But yeah, that should impact quarantining some. So we shall see. It'll be a very interesting fall.
I do need a motion to preliminarily approve the revision plan, so that we can get the paperwork filed with the understanding that this has to be posted, and then for 30 days for final approval.
No, it can be posted as is right now. It just has to be 30 days within getting the approval for ESSER 3.
Okay.
And so once they approve it, we have a 30-day timeline, which doesn't give us actually that much time. And we can revise it as many times as we want. They require a revision every 6 months.
Okay.
So, this thing's gone through a lot of revisions.
Also, motion to approve this COVID-19 ranger plan.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Approving with the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Let's talk about bus donation.
Yes. So this is an exciting one. This is a win for lots of different people. So one of the issues that we have here is that we have a bus that is inoperable. It is not, I should rephrase that. It is operable, however, we cannot use it for passengers. It will not pass the state police inspections, which is why we had to buy bus 4. And then we had bus 2 and said, what do we do with it? Then COVID hit, so it's just kind of been a junk bird right now, and we don't know what to do with it. So, looking earlier in the year, I was researching the food deserts that we were all experiencing, especially the west side of Anderson. And the Christian Center, part of my LAMC class was to do an extra project after it, and we looked at getting a food truck for the Christian Center. I thought, oh wow, that would be great. And hey, I got a little bus. Hey, win-win. That'll be great. And then Harrah's beat us to it and gave them a shuttle bus. So they didn't have the need to take our bus and do all that, which, fine. So we've been sitting there with the bus, but we have a school board member who is now working with a new group in our community. And you'll have to refresh me on the name, because I just want to say the grocery, but I know it's more than the group.
Food Network.
Okay, Madison County Food Network, and that includes the grocery group that is trying to grow fresh produce and then deliver it into our food desert areas. Not at cost for families, just doing those things. So I would like if we could consider donating the bus to this group, to this foundation, and they would be able to take it, gut it, and turn it into the food truck delivery system that they need. And that gets it off of us for having an obsolete vehicle that's just literally sitting there kind of looking like an eyesore right now. So it's definitely beyond its use. It is obsolete for APA. We can't do anything with it other than try to junk it. So that is my proposal, that we look at donating it to this group and helping our community, and then providing our kids some more community service projects and opportunities.
What was the name of the group again?
It's the Madison County Food Network in conjunction with the grocery, which is, and the Christian Center is also involved. I'm involved. It'll impact our food pantry here. It will travel around and deliver fresh produce free to our families. If we can take SNAP, anybody that has SNAP benefits, we'll be able to process those payments for that. It's exciting because we're starting to see collaboration among different groups now on feeding hungry people and feeding our kids here. And so yeah, we dug up a lot of 25th Street in the back and planted it over the course of the last 3 weeks, and it's looking very professional, very nice. My cousin's a farmer, so he came and plotted it all out for us, and I can't believe the amount of produce that we're gonna have available if it all comes up and we can get it watered. And so yeah, the Christian Center, they're stepping in to give us bread and milk for our pantry out here, and so things are starting to really come together to not only feed APA, but to get to the west side, and to really do some community outreach with our kids, and to let them help us with the Food Desert Region of 46016, so.
Good job. Is that the same group that's working out of community hospital with their?
I'm working with Ascension, but nobody from community.
Okay,
I
'cause they've
forgot
got
to
their
mention
own-
Ascension.
Farm, whatever that they've been,
We're trying to bring all these elements together,
Yeah.
because everybody's working in a silo.
I'm
So we're
gonna
trying
s-
to bring everybody together so that we can distribute in an organized fashion and a method that makes sense, instead of everybody doing the same
Sure.
thing.
I'm gonna send you a contact of that group that I was loosely affiliated with, so. So you need a motion to dump the bus?
Yes, so
Too bad it doesn't run.
I make a motion that we donate our non-working bus to the Madison County Food Network for their food project.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All four with the sign of aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, done. So you're gonna have to help me with this last one, board meeting change. Is that what I talked about earlier, or is?
No.
No.
I need an extra week again. We are working on month-end financials, and we're gonna, if we could push back the June meeting to June 29th, that will give Bookkeeping Plus the 3 weeks they need to process the financials. And Kim and I are working very hard for the next 2 weeks to get everything down pat, so that we can kind of streamline some of the processes. She's done an amazing job, kind of just jumping in feet first, and when we get back to August, we'll have the month ends done properly, or in time, or timely. So
You
she's
don't need a
done.
motion for that, do you?
I don't really think I do. I just need to change the date.
Everybody good with moving the meeting to the 29th?
29th,
As long as
that's
we
a
have the
Tuesday.
meeting in the month. Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah, and
Yeah, we're
for
good.
bylaws, we're
Yes.
over meetings, we're good.
Yeah.
So will we have one in July then at all, Jill? No?
That's our month off,
That's our month off, unless,
Special meetings
unless we have to
sometimes.
do
unless
something.
we have what we had to do last year, which we should.
I would think not, I would think everything can hold to get through August. It'd be nice.
I just have one question.
Sure.
If I can go back to the bus donation, I would be just curious, donating the bus now, how much does it take off of the insurance and stuff that we would save now? Just curious, because I know sometimes, you know, that adds on to
I'm
stuff.
gonna say probably like $600, I think. It's not, Yeah.
Save something. Okay.
Savings is savings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
because,
I guarantee a couple of years ago, we've been looking for $600.
Yes, we, yeah. Very good.
that's
But
very,
you know, with that and maintenance and licenses and stuff, sometimes it's stuff adds up, so it's a savings.
yeah, since we can't operate it right now and get it to pass an inspection, we've pretty much just kind of we've already cut some of those expenses.
Wonder how much money the Madison County group will have to put in to get that thing up and running.
Well, I don't know, my husband's gonna be making it run. He just
Oh,
doesn't know
okay,
it
he
yet.
doesn't know.
So I'm gonna tell it and all that too, or make it run, yeah.
Well, I just have to sweet talk him into that, making it, he did this in a prior life, so
Oh,
he
okay,
knows
yeah.
buses. But he just doesn't know he's gonna make this bus run.
Oh, gotcha, okay. That's all I had.
Okay? Any other discussion?
What that noise is, but that's a dollar sign attached to it.
Yeah. We're looking at doing some board training. So there'll be some information coming out here fairly soon. We do have an evaluation. You want to talk a little bit about that, or? you wanna hold off?
Well, it's not due yet, so we had more
But it's
years
coming.
than I thought we did. But we'll get ready and do our process when the school year starts to get Jill's new contract ready and to get 360 done again and all that kind of thing.
Okay. I need a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion. Adjourn.
Our second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? We are adjourned. And I kept you under an hour for this meeting. Look, it's just before 7.
Wow, it seems so much longer, didn't it?
Had CJ not talked for an hour and a half? No, we're fine.